Still a few minutes to go, but I always start a bit early. Why is face rig? Okay, there it goes. Seems. Technical difficulties tonight already. That doesn't bode well. Huh. Okay. Model seems to be working now. Unfortunately, I'm also getting told 50% frame drops, which is annoying. I don't know. Gonna wait until until it's actually 7 to start the movie. Hopefully it doesn't stay this bad. Or if not, if worse comes to worse, I'll just reschedule this stream, but I don't want to have to do that. I was going to be doing tech support to try and fix the internet problems I've been having, but the people I was going to ask to help do that didn't wake up until about a half hour ago, which was when I was already preparing to stream, which didn't help. Get the movie up. Okay, it's 7. I'm gonna start the movie. So, this is gonna be another high-quality movie, like we saw last week. I had to go out of my way to not pick another movie directed by Roger Corman. Because I went through, several different movies, on my list, and, all of the ones that, I picked out based on title, were, not were all directed by, Roger Corman. And then I picked this one, and then I was looking into it afterwards, and saw, oh, like you would have just seen, it's directed by Roger Corman. Oh, so yeah, Palo Alto is in California. Volume is really quiet in this movie for some reason. That's some interesting narration, telling the audience about the production. But it's cool to know that apparently this has underwater filming. This kid is a really bad actor. I don't like to give kid actors shit for being bad actors, because kids can't act. Ones that can are, the exception and not the rule. But... if you can get your exposition dump across without a terribly acted child character. I do appreciate that this, ostensibly native kid, I don't know if that kid was ethnically native, but as far as the story is concerned, I definitely got the impression that they were supposed to be. Just, like, telling this lady to fuck off. That was fun. This is, very different in tone from the last movie. In that, the movie... What's a league in this context? A league is, it's a measure of distance, used, in sailing. I.e., 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, or something like that. I don't know how long a league is, but it is long. Huh.
Hello.
That seems like a very bad way to open a league's measured depth. That would make sense. I don't know if they completely do that, though. I'll look that up. Also, opening a submarine's cockpit, into the water seems like a bad idea and a good way to flood your submarine.
Look, I'm sorry.
It's all right, you just scared me, that's all.
Here, let me help.
So, according to Wikipedia, it was 3 miles. Or, like, meant to be, like, the amount of time that someone could walk in,
Marine biology.
could walk in an hour.
My name? What's yours?
Julie Blair.
You, do this kind of painting for a living, Julie?
No, I'm a merchandise illustrator.
Oh, that's where you paint,
Washing machines, vacuum cleaners, pots and pans.
that takes talent.
Marine biology.
I'm on the staff of Stanford.
I appreciate this guy just being like,
Research down here, I suppose.
yeah,
Nice work for you.
you know,
Did you know that all
she might not be doing particularly creative or like, interesting work, but it's still valid, like...
73 million square miles?
Also, a league is 4 kilometers. I will take your word on it. I don't know kilometers. Wikipedia said 3 miles.
You could meet Dr. Baldwin and see the kind of work we do.
No, I...
Come on, it'll be fun.
Do you think both of us could fit into that, what do you call that thing anyway?
Well, that's my submarine. Come on, I'll show it to you.
All right.
This submarine looks super dumb, but it's endearing to me. Movie's a bit quiet.
I furnish the power.
I will try turning it up, but
Do anything an airplane can do.
I have it turned very up on my end, like, in my headphones,
How
and
about, you ready?
it's still quiet.
Well, you can help me get into the water. You hang
Um,
on, stay on the surface.
So, I turned it up now. Tell me if that's, too much. Yeah, anyway. The design of the submarine is dumb, but I like it. It's like... It's cute. It's... it's moe. Could a person fit in a submarine that small? Yeah. Like, it would have a lot of legroom. And it's definitely like, that could fit a person. Don't drug smugglers have really small submarines?
Thank you.
I am not aware of how drug smugglers would. I'm not aware of that. No, I'm not. I don't know.
Well, care to see some of the work we do, Julie?
I'd love to.
Here, sit right down here. I'll fix this for you. Now take a look inside.
I just realized that all of the audio here is dubbed,
Looking at diatoms, Julie. Single
and it might just be like on this scene because I think on the beach it wasn't dubbed,
They're stunning.
Here, let me
but they are definitely dubbed in this scene, and I question then if they are dubbed in this scene, why does it still sound
Those
terrible?
various forms of protozoa, for their size the most deadly in the world. It's lucky for us they never grow any larger than this.
Why, it's unbelievable.
You know, the ocean's unbelievable too. Why, the living matter in it is enough to stagger the mind. Think of it. One female cod alone lays over 8 million eggs. Why, up in the North Sea, we have more than 67,000. Easy, Steve, easy. Everyone doesn't share our enthusiasm.
I do. Please.
Dr. Baldwin and I share some pretty strong theories. We feel that time is running out on the human race.
In what way?
Well, our population is growing too fast for our farmlands. The soil is beginning to lose its vigor. We feel that unless some new food sources are found pretty soon, mankind is headed for slow extinction.
Overpopulation is a myth.
Steve and I both feel
It's
that
a lie.
the supply will have to come from the sea itself.
If we don't like fish, then what?
Well, we aren't talking about seafood alone. What would you think, for instance, of growing crops on the floor of the ocean?
Think of getting your celery already salted.
What can be done, Julie? Why, in the shallow waters along the coastal edge, there are these continental shelves. Now, they're covered by silty sand, which is deposited there by the rivers which pour into the ocean.
I do like kind of vibe with this scene though, like the sort of like utopian science fiction stuff that you could have only gotten in the 50s. Overpopulation is a conspiracy by the anti-lewd police to stop people from having sex. It's also a conspiracy by like racists and classist people. It like it is an actual conspiracy that was made to like shit on poor people. Yeah, it's racist bullshit. Ooh. This is interesting. Similar to the underwater filming of the last movie. Interesting that Roger Corman did both of these, or was involved in both of these. But they're trying really hard to make this scene tense. When it's like... Yeah, the dumb submarine was an actual submarine. I figured it was a submarine. Like, it looks like something that, even if shittily, it would work as a submarine. Anyway, fun fact, I have thalassophobia. Which is, fear of water. You might wonder how a fish gets by with a fear of water. Not well. Anyway, I'm getting through this scene by watching it in the Streamlabs, preview. Because because I have 2 monitors. I think like this scene would be fine if it had better contrast on the black and white, but it makes it look really dark, which makes it look really deep. When it's like, even in the fiction of the film, that they would only be, you know, maybe 100 feet deep at most. But I need to look into the production of this film later, because this sounds like it would have an interesting story behind it, like the use of the submarine and the underwater filming. Because that's a step beyond what happened in the Crab movie, that just like had tank filming.
Sign of Santos. You must be down there. Search the coast thoroughly, not a sign.
Anyway, it only took us, what,
Get out of suit.
15 minutes to have something happening in this movie?
Said this.
No man gets through that.
Then what happened to him?
Something bothering you, Julie? You can tell me.
I'm worried about what happened.
Apparently this was the first movie Corman produced.
Don't blame you.
That's interesting.
Was pretty tragic.
Um,
But abalone divers have drowned before.
I'm glad to see that, like,
There wasn't the slightest trace of Santos.
he is able to take his, like, distinct directorial
This morning
edge
I was talking to one of the little
and
Mexican boys,
bring that to his
and he told me
production.
that his father had been taken by some strange thing
Like,
down the road.
this movie is clearly in,
I
like,
don't think a sea serpent got it.
involved in that sort of thing.
Steve, these stories about some kind of a devil in the cove. I talked to some of the other people here. They believe it. You know, there might just be something to it.
Well, even if there is, Julie, I don't think it's your problem.
Somebody's got to do something about it.
Julie, I don't want you taking any chances. I wouldn't want anything to happen to you. You know, I've
Oh, this was before he directed any?
in the short time we've-
Wild. Yeah, I guess this would be before the one we watched last week.
But I like
So,
I just couldn't sit by and watch these people terrorized by
I guess he was just always like this. Or maybe, like, he picked stuff up
I
from
still
this.
don't see why you have to stick your pretty little chin.
His directorial
One of the
debut was
reasons the
what
world is in such a mess
was
is everybody's afraid to start
in
something.
55 with
I'm not.
5 Guns West. Okay.
Don't believe you are.
Yeah. Roger Corman is
Promise
old.
me one thing.
And
Help
he's
if
also
you can, but
fucking prolific.
don't take any needless chances. The ocean can be dangerous, Julie. Very dangerous.
Like,
All right.
even with the conceit that, like,
Shall we go?
Right.
yeah, I think he is still alive.
Okay. I'll do it.
Do what?
Whatever it is you're building up to.
I wasn't building up.
Yeah. Roger Corman is still alive.
Does it, possibly concern more, sea monsters?
I was thinking about it.
Which, like,
Clearly you've been reading too many science
God.
lately.
Take me out to the cove.
Yeah, Roger Corman, like,
Today I'm
hasn't
crawling
stopped. I couldn't remember if he was still alive, but I knew that, like, his most recent films were like, recent.
You didn't mention overhauling your sub before.
Well, I didn't want to bore you.
How far are you on?
Like,
Well, not too far.
Have you actually started working on it yet?
In a figurative sense, yes.
In a literal sense, you mean you haven't begun yet, is that it?
Well, no.
Come on, Superman. Into your sub.
it seems like, okay, I'm like looking at Wikipedia now. Apparently the last movie he directed was in
You do think there's something down there?
1990,
Yes. I think
but
you're
he has
liable to
just
run into a
kept
good-sized
producing
shark.
films
We have them
the
around
entire
here, you
time.
know.
Steve, you're just trying to scare me so I won't go down there, but it's not going to work.
I'm sure of that. Seriously, Julie, we do have a man-eater that wanders in here every now and then. Now, if you meet one, here's what you do.
Okay, what do I do if I meet a shark?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Whatever you do, don't head for the surface. He'll snap off your legs like ripe bananas. The safest procedure would be just to stay still. The shark will size you up for a minute, then move on to greener fields. And whatever you do, don't scratch yourself. They can smell blood a mile away.
Aye, aye, Captain. Now follow me down below.
Yeah. Wyatt Ordung, the director of this movie, only had one other movie, Walk the Dark Street, which sounds delightfully bizarre. Yeah, Walk the Dark Street gives me, like... I can think of, like, a variety of different ways that title could play out. Frank explains to Dan that his heart condition means he can no longer go big game hunting, and makes him a lucrative offer to have a hunt in LA with both men armed only with camera guns. Unbeknownst to Dan, Frank replaces his camera round with a live bullet and plans to kill him in revenge for his brother's death. I need to see this. I need to see this. Also, okay, these shots we're getting right now, this is gorgeous. And this definitely, like, this seems even more ambitious than what we got to see in, the Crab movie. Because this, if this is tank filming, this is god tier tank filming. There's a lot of, like, variety and, like, this looks big. This is... I am glad that, like, I like the last movie a lot, and I like this one less, but I appreciate that even, like, trash movies like this can be, like, interesting and have this kind of, like, fascinating stuff. Anyway, there's the monster.
Quick, head for the boat.
Sharks?
No, a giant octopus. Hurry before it catches us.
Relax, Julie. An octopus is the biggest coward in the...
Walk the Dark Street already sounded like a level from a Kojima game, and that description only made it sound more like that. That just makes me want to watch it more. Oh shit, apparently Walk the Dark Street is in the public domain?
Here we go again.
You certainly are stuck. Don't you believe
Okay, we are going to be watching Walk the Dark Street, at some point on stream. I'm adding that to my list.
Joe,
Because that sounds great.
what happened yesterday? I've heard that there's some kind of devil down in the cove. Do you know anything about it?
There is some truth.
Do you know whatever it is looks like?
I do not know. But whatever it is not like anything we have ever seen.
So we...
When
One
did
sec,
the story
gotta
about
drink
this
some
thing
water.
start?
We just saw the monster, right?
My sister, she was
Like, we saw a giant squid,
46.
or octopus.
Someone like
So we have seen the monster now. It was a cool monster, but it's like, are we just... It didn't even kill someone. Are we just gonna get a bunch of ambiguity for the rest, like, for the next 20 minutes?
But Pablo, he has lived here all his life. Perhaps he can help. The cove is his home.
It's a gift. No, it's for you.
You've lived here a long time, haven't you?
See?
There are many stories about your code. They say that a devil lives here.
These days, one believes many things.
I'm just trying to help. Please believe me. You do, don't you?
Of course, senorita. The ocean shows many forms of life.
Just realized that it's, that it is 1:30 and you should probably sleep. Well,
With my own eyes, I have seen a shark.
if you're gonna go to bed, good night.
60 feet.
Sleep well. Also, apparently the,
That, no shark was more than 40 feet. So
some of the MST3K guys did a riff on Walk the Dark Streets a few months ago.
Many strange things. Sometimes
That makes me, like, less interested in doing it on stream, just because it's like,
there's not no one to stop.
in my, like, search for public domain movies I would want to show, I've come across a lot of things that MST3K did, and, like, those are on my list, but I don't, those are, like, a lower priority because people might already know them, and I do want to, like, drag up the trash and try, like, discover, you know, good things in these public domain movies.
shapeless thing that come from water of coal.
So, it being, like, it having already gotten that treatment makes me less inclined to, do that. But, it's still on my list. We'll get to that eventually.
Have you ever seen anything else?
Yeah. One night in the surf where it's as deep as
Is this character a racial stereotype or a drunk racial stereotype?
with lantern.
Um,
I see it as
I think it's a racial stereotype that Mexicans get drunk easily, or, like, often.
nothing like anything I ever
Like, it feels like it's, like, a step removed from, like, the lazy Mexican, stereotype.
Only one eye.
only one. It burned. It stared at me.
Okay, so, still fairly obscure. This movie has more views on Letterboxd than it. Okay.
The sea again.
That's,
Make out the shape.
I talk like a bastard.
fair enough. I guess I won't, like, keep that in mind.
No, Pablo. I believe you saw what you said. One more question. What kind of a night was it?
Ah, La Luna, she was up. It was a full moon.
Beautiful morning, isn't it?
Pass these, señorita. It is wasted on me. My Gofredo. He's gone.
Gofredo?
It's kind of weird how they appear to be in the desert, but with sea sounds dubbed in.
Do you have any idea where he
That's just how California be.
One night he was here.
Um,
Morning, no sign. Has he
like,
ever before?
No, señorita.
I
Perhaps you better report.
did.
I don't think I don't think this is too out of the question as like a California
Maybe yes,
peach.
maybe no.
Mostly
Why
because
does anyone get excited
I believe that they
over
filmed
it?
this on location because it would be cheaper to film it on location if they're like just in the bay. Also,
Never mind.
I haven't seen
One
Jaws.
gets accustomed to a dog.
Perhaps he just wandered off on a little excursion of his own.
So
I had him tied to doghouse.
I don't really get that point of reference.
The collar is still locked. My Goffredo is no longer in it. But a track.
Guess
track.
Zealand is kind of like that.
Goffredo's collar.
Yeah, it's just like there are just places that are like hot and dry with a lot of sand. That you know are right next to the
Very,
beach.
very heavy, dragged over sand.
Would you say that it was as large as
Especially like California is like
Bigger, too.
large parts
Three
desert.
wagons.
Either like the typical sandy deserts or like the more technical definition of desert based on a lack of rain.
That's newly sprung in June. My love is like a melody.
It's why is this song? Why does this song have so much better sound production than everything else in this movie? This is unfair. Yeah, this guy's an asshole.
In a minute. Wow.
Just like
Clouds are opening.
pulling out his acoustic guitar. Yeah, he is the guy who shows up at the party and says like, "Here's Wonderwall."
the moon is full?
Granted, but why the big reaction? Hey, what is this?
Pablo told me that the thing in the cove comes out on moonlight nights.
Julie, if a man has enough tequila, he's liable to see a lot of things.
I believe it.
Okay. Tell me, what exactly did this thing look like?
Pablo said that he couldn't make out the shape of it, but that it was a huge mass with a red eye that glowed bright red.
Brother.
I knew you wouldn't believe me.
Yeah, this movie has been quite action-packed so
I
far.
talked to Joe too, and he told me some things. You know, when Adam's partner disappeared from his body. Joe told me stories about it. They all began
I don't want to read that line off without like singing it,
Why do you suppose?
and I don't have the faith that I could sing that. But that's enunciate. That's a great line.
1946, well,
But yeah, also just like
the water experiments.
I feel like there's this was kind of like the formula for old like
Maybe it's
monster movies from like between like the Universal era and like
in that cove to grow into a monster.
what
Julie, look,
um
lovely girl, but
I don't know. I guess that's like even still kind of the formula, but there was definitely like a point where it was like this is what they were all like,
I'm going to prove
because this is what's easier to film, you know.
Steve, good news.
oh, it's Dr. Ball.
You don't need to have too much of a monster there.
The university, confirming our funds for the experiment.
You just need to write a script and have the characters read it off on location.
Good. Now we can move on down the coast.
Record it in a couple days, and you have a movie.
Oh, it'll just be a few weeks, Julie, and we'll be back.
how soon are you leaving.
First thing in the morning.
Yeah, horror movies were fucking boring before the 70s.
Steve, I guess you better go.
You had some good ones in the 60s. Like, I think, like, horror movies got good in the 70s, but you had good ones in, like, the 60s. Even,
Well,
like, and I can think of good ones, like, earlier than that. Onibaba.
you write to me then.
Onibaba is, like, from
If anything,
early 60s or late 50s.
You write
And
to
that
me
one's really
only to tell me
good.
what you had for
But that's, like,
We'll be looking forward to seeing
a very different kind of horror. That's more like
goodbye, Doc.
the horrors of man kind of horror rather than a fucking monster. Although, also, Godzilla. Godzilla's a good horror movie. Also, them. I don't know. Unfortunately, all of the good horror... American horror movies were boring before the 70s. Certainly, like, debate can be had around the Universal movies. I think that I have seen some of them, and I think that they are of mixed quality. But yeah, like it took Americans time to really get horror. But then once they did, you got stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, you know, if you take your time and get a very high quality product eventually, it's worth it. Yeah. Also, yeah, the more time you can spend talking with two characters talking, using a couple camera angles and natural lighting to the cheaper your film is. Yeah, that's like what these films were made with. Yeah, Code Era, like Hays Code, like definitely plays a huge part in this. Like, you couldn't really have things be violent, so if you wanted your, like, that's why, like, I think, like, the Universal horror movies were, like, kind of buck this trend, because they were, like, 20 years prior to this, before the Hays Code. Ooh, okay, this is cool. I like how it glows! Yeah, like, God, that Hays Code fucked over Hollywood. Yeah, it's... Psycho could get made... I don't even know. Psycho fucking sucks. Yeah, American horror movies definitely have their own aesthetic. Especially, like, once you get to, like, the 70s and 80s, it's like, you have, like, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even kinda Alien or Predator. That's like these movies that all like can be rather easily grouped by aesthetic, if not visually, then like in terms of tone or just like what they're doing.
The fairest must be sacrificed to the faint.
Yeah, Grindhouse exploitation also did a lot.
Such things cannot be.
Someone must
like,
be certain she fulfills her destiny.
I think like I think movies like this are interesting in their own way, even if they're not interesting
No,
as movies.
I cannot do such a thing. No one believes in sacrifices anymore.
But it's like the way that they just like
The people in cities, they do not.
the B movie structure was one that required studios to make a lot of movies, and I think something has been lost for the fact that like it has been moved away from in time.
Quetzalcoatl or the new one?
Because now it's like, yeah, the movies are higher quality on a whole and stuff,
What is one
but it's
life
like
when it will
you're
save
you're
many?
missing out without stuff like this.
A shark was seen in the cove early today. Tomorrow, the girl shall be taken to the cove, and the shark will do the rest. And you will carry out my command.
Yeah, Blumhouse sort of still puts out stuff like that. Yeah, that's fair. Like, it's not a completely dead thing, but it's like, the people who are doing it as, like, pretty, they're rather unique within the field. Because you also have, like, the guys behind, like, Sharknado and stuff. But Sharknado feels a lot less genuine. Like, this is a movie made in earnest, even if it's not made to be, like, high quality. Like, the people were still coming into this thinking, like, let's make the best movie we can. Whereas like, with Sharknado, it's like, let's make a bad movie! Like, let's make a movie that's so bad it's good. And what ends up happening is you make a bad movie.
Now look, just exactly where did you see this odd action?
Down by the rocks. I see it late last night. The water glowed red.
We're on the trail now.
Only one
I
thing, senorita.
would much rather watch, like, something boring but with a lot of heart than something that's, like, made in, like, not in good faith. Yeah, you can't do so bad it's good on purpose. I take issue with the concept in the first place, just because I don't think of bad in that kind of term, where it's like there is an objective quality to it. I think if you like something, then it's good. So yes, you know, so bad it's good as you enjoy something, and I would argue that makes it good. But like, even so, like there is an aesthetic to it, like. The, like, low quality of film is what makes it enjoyable. And that's what you can't replicate. Like, you can't make that sort of thing on purpose, because if you do, you just make something bad. I like the use of, like, drums as sound effect here. It makes it, like, a growling sound. Which, you know, sharks don't growl, but... it still makes for, like, something for, like, good at raising the tension in the scene. Also, like... yeah, you can't deliberately fail to do something you're trying to do well. Anyway, I am, like, trying to imagine how they filmed this scene, and I can't imagine any other way than they just put the actress in the water next to a shark. And that's incredible to me. Like, wow.
Wonder how Julie's. Fine girl, Julie. Pretty and with a head on her shoulders, too. Among other things. Only if it wasn't for that witch hunt of hers. Well, lots of people suffer that way. What sort of beastie does she fear? Well, she's firmly convinced that some sort of horrible monster is lurking in the cove, devouring every living thing that crosses its path. Any basis for her views? None. Don't be so smug, Steve. Oh, no. You too? Lots of intelligent people suffer from things like that. Oh, come on now, Doctor. You're a man of science. You know as well as I that these things usually turn out to be an overgrown sperm whale or something similar. I notice you said usually. seem to be making exceptions. All right, I'll change my statement. They always turn out to be some simple form of life. I disagree. Lots of times nature plays tricks on us.
I appreciate, like, this guy was being a misogynistic shitbag and being like, oh, she's just, like, she's a woman, so she's, like, doesn't know what she's talking about. And then this other guy's just like,
For an oil company.
you're a dumbass.
We kept hearing stories of people disappearing. Just like in the comic books. Exactly. Only the stories the natives told dealt with a huge flying reptile. Are you sure it wasn't a flying red horse? No, it seems this monster originated from the depths of the ocean to soar landward in search of warm-blooded victims. The description led me to believe it was a pteranodon. A winged reptile with a wingspan of 30 feet. He was extinct after the Stone Age. Well, I found it hard to believe, too. Until one day, a severe storm struck our area. It lasted about a week, and when it was over, I was taking a stroll on the beach. That's when I found it. Found what? A large leathery object, the size of a watermelon. I took it to the lab and dissected it. And it turned out to be a reptilian egg. It had the embryonic structure of a pteranodon. Well, that sort of finding has happened before. I know. But this egg wasn't fossilized. The egg was still alive. Soon that egg would have hatched and released the monstrous form of life that supposedly has been extinct for hundreds of centuries.
For a pretty senorita.
She lives in San Vicente. I am meeting with her for supper. Something is wrong?
Yeah, yeah. The dialogue in this movie just kind of
Not today.
goes nowhere. Like,
Wise after your meeting with the shop?
people are just talking, you know, like,
Hey,
they're just chilling. They're just vibing.
you little and you don't do me. Permit me, huh?
Never mind the fact that there may or may not be a man-eating monster right below them. And I feel like this same, yeah, like, you could have these scenes, like, play out identically, except, like, throw some music underneath it. Like, maybe change your direction a little. Like, you can work with this. Yeah, also, yeah, this is, like, you can see the influence of this kind of movie in, like, a lot. Cause, like, I know, like, both George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, like, took a lot of influence. Oh, yeah, like, when making Jaws, even when I know, I mentioned earlier I haven't seen it, but, like, even when I know of it, it's, like, this is a kind of, like, genre movie that sort of died off after the, like, mid-late 60s. So, by the time Jaws would have been getting made, it's like, it would have already been a throwback. And especially because it's, like, then, like, 20 years prior, that would have been when Spielberg was young. And watching this like, kind of thing, enjoying this kind of thing, first getting into film. A lot of respectable filmmakers like Martin Scorsese and Jonathan got their start working with Corman. Yeah. With how fucking prolific Corman is, it's like, I don't know, I imagine he has his fingerprints over, like, everything. There's also, like, Little Shop of Horror, like, that was his movie, and you can think about how that led to the remake, which has led to all kinds of things. This is the Jaws theme.
Well, Steve, I hope Carlos got our wire. Well, he ought to be here if he did. Oh, there you go.
Thousand pardons, senors.
Well, Carlos, we were afraid you weren't going to get here. From Julie.
Never let it be said that Carlos and Mandy spared the complete mission.
Tell me, how's everything on the mainland?
Pretty good, senor.
Thanks for the quick delivery, Carlos. I'm hungry. That's a good idea. Gonna join us in a bit of chow, Carlos?
Thousand thanks, but I must complete my other assignment. This is for...
I wonder how many of the Mexican characters in this film were played by Mexican actors. Because I know this was the era where you could get away with just having white people put on some makeup. Like, you couldn't, maybe at this point you couldn't get away with blackface, but you could definitely get away with yellow face.
Has about a sea monster. Well, I certainly give her credit. Really
And I don't know the term for what it is when a white person is pretending to be Hispanic, but you could definitely get away with that.
Evidence of Julie's sea monster. Oh? It seems she went prowling in the cove with a grappling hook. Snagged onto the mysterious mass, and a fierce struggle ensued. Well, after the titanic struggle was over, she managed to salvage her grappling hook. Here, affixed to the end of it, were bits of the mysterious monster. You know, it's a pretty good-sized fish stray into those coves.
I like the, like, gentle rocking of the boat. What it does for this shot. That it's, like, it's a stable, it's a stable, like, shot as far as, like, the inside of the boat is concerned, but, like, you can see the shaky in the background. That's really nice. Like, it just... I like what that does for the shot. Gives it a nice vibe. Also, yeah, early James Bond, like, the first, like, decade of the... Yeah, this is a really good shot. The first decade of, Bond films were really bad about that. With,
Very strange. I've got an idea.
Yeah, the fact that the light is moving a lot does a lot. Yeah, anyway, for James Bond, like, in the first movie, the main villain is, like, ostensibly this, like, half German, half Japanese guy. And they just got a white guy to put on some makeup and pretend to be Japanese. And it's bad.
What could cause it to,
But definitely, like, the James Bond movie's worst crime
one of many things.
is that there is a movie where James Bond, the character, has to do yellowface. Not like Sean Connery is putting on yellowface, but like James Bond, quote, like, has to become Japanese.
Could absorb a man
Which amounts to giving Sean Connery a bowl cut.
or a woman.
And, like, slightly changing the color on his skin. It looks so shitty. It looks awful.
Get more speed out of this thing.
Like,
Gotta go in full speed now.
the Sean Connery Bond movies have not aged well. I guess is a good way to put this.
about charts.
I wonder if we're gonna see the monster again before the movie ends. We've seen it twice now.
Hey, senorita.
Anchor the boat, I'm going down here.
Oh, no, senorita. The waters are too dangerous.
How old was Roger Moore at the time he played Bond? I think he was like in his 40s. At least like when he started the role. He wasn't as old as most actors.
I cannot do it.
Do what?
Our legends say if the fair one is sacrificed, the monster will...
Yeah, he would have been like 44, I think, when he first started. And then
Here can do many things.
through the course of his movies, he played the role for like 12 years, so he would have been almost 60 by the time he was done.
Senorita,
And boy, does he show it!
do it. I know it will...
Roger Moore did not age gracefully.
Oh, forgive me, senorita. I would not...
I don't mean to say he looked like shit by the end, but he definitely looked like shit by the end.
If you'll help me now.
And I say that, like, as a Roger Moore fan, he is my favorite Bond actor. But, God, he definitely played the role for too long. But the fact that he played the role for too long means that we got A View to a Kill. So it evens out. If only he had stopped before Octopussy. I want to imagine what these underwater scenes would be like if they had better balanced contrast.
We're in a kelp bed.
Because it's not exact. The contrast is pretty bad as is,
Let's go clear.
but these shots are still great. Like, I think it still looks like gorgeous. A man cutting seaweed, kelp, is some of the most tense action we have gotten in this entire film. Like, gratuitous kelp cutting action. That's not exactly something you put on the box. This movie, like, the underwater filming here looks really pretty. Very specific audience for that. Yeah, I mean, at least this movie can like rest contented that it has that audience on lockdown. Yeah, the seaweed scene was like flat, but like the fact that they're doing underwater filming at all was like notable, noteworthy. Like, I think it like worked. It could have been better, but not with this film's budget and not with the era. Which I think, like, the limitations make it plenty interesting for itself, too. Okay, we're getting to see the monster now. Kind of. Except again, like, these shots are, have such poor contrast.
Tommy, get the sub in the water.
And, like, from the poster, we get to see, like, this monster design more clearly. And I think it is a very good design, but I think this movie doesn't do it right justice. That we only get to see it, like, for a very short amount of time. Yeah, Thunderball was, like... Thunderball was really fucking ambitious. Like, let's have dozens of people fighting underwater at the same time, and stuff. And yeah, like, that was a decade later. Probably, like, $1 million more in the budget. And they still couldn't do much. So, like, I respect the ambition here. I think that, like, the fact that they could make this at all is noteworthy. And I think, like, within this film's limitations, I think it is interesting. I definitely don't like it as much as a crab movie, but I definitely still have been, like, enjoying this, at least in some capacity. Especially now that we're actually getting to the monster. Right in the eye. That's a funny way to end things. Oh yeah, Thunderball had a budget of 5.6 million, so yeah, like, I imagine this was shot for, like, 50,000, maybe, at most. Like, there's, like, 7 actors. It's not that long. IMDb has this at 28,000. That makes sense. Thunderball could have funded 200 more of these. Yeah. And it's like, it is interesting to think of, like, how... Like, Thunderball had a bigger scale in its underwater filming, but, like, even so, I feel like this was more interesting for it. Mostly because it had better, like... It had a better shooting location underwater, I think, is the big thing. That, Thunderball was just kind of, like, in a big open area. Understandably so, because you needed to make sure that, you could have all these extras, right? Anyway, I'm gonna go on break now, just because, I'm gonna be showing another movie in a bit, but I want to take a little break to just, like, stretch, go to the bathroom, and fill up my water bottle, all that. And you, the audience, should also do self-care while I am gone. So, be back in a bit. Hi. Okay, apparently, accidentally, turned on a bunch of, expressions while I was gone. Anyway, hi. I'm back. While I was gone, I, like, seeing what's in chat, about, like, budget thing, I decided to look up what a, film made in 1974, like, or 1954, what $28,000 would be worth now? Apparently, it would be worth about, $272,000. Which is a lot less than the 1 million estimate. But still, like, yeah, that you could make an indie movie on that. Anyway, I'm going to start the film. Wow, an actual film logo. I check these films beforehand, both to see if they are, fuck, I should turn off subtitles. I check these films ahead of time, just to see, like, if they're in English and everything. And the process of checking this one was like, wait, I saw on a list that this is public domain, but it's starting with a film logo from a studio I know. It can't be public domain then. I had to, like, go look into it. And, yeah, it is public domain. And yeah, people have made movies for a lot less than, like, $270,000. I imagine a lot of that budget went into the underwater filming. Oh boy! Oh boy. I'm glad they didn't waste any time getting to, like, getting to the fun stuff. God, what's with the eyes on that suit? Yeah, the last movie was really impressive on that budget, and now we're watching this. Like, I appreciate that suit. That suit looks alright, but, like, God. Yeah, this is off to a great start. I'm looking forward to this. So this was made a year later than, fuck, I forget the name of the last film, but, like, than that. Yeah, the guy in the Godzilla suit at the theme park fell in the pond. Yeah, this is already, like, an interesting contrast to the last film, because it's like, wow, this seems a lot less, Roger Corman? It seems more like a notable, monster from the ocean floor. Yeah. This has a different vibe, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Don't touch that.
M.S. Grant, Special Investigator. Department of Defense, Washington. Well, I guess that makes it pretty official.
Yes, I guess it does.
His body is rigid with burns.
Description of the director's of this director's other film, From Hell It Came. A wrongfully accused South Sea prince is executed and returns as a walking tree stump. Well, that sounds lit. Gonna have to add that to my list too. If it's in the public domain. The description, or the like tagline on Letterboxd, beast thing from the flames of Hades. That sounds sick.
You've got all my vital statistics. Let's have yours. Name, address, occupation, things like that. The name's Baxter. Ted Baxter. The address, local hotel. Occupation, beachcomber and tourist. Length of stay, indefinite. Will that do? Tell me, how did you happen to pick this particular place? Know anybody in town? No. I have a letter of introduction to the head of the College of Oceanography here, Professor King, which explains why I'm here at this particular minute. I was on my way to see him in his home when I stumbled in onto this.
Come out of there!
I met you at the College of Oceanography yesterday, didn't I?
That's right. I'm George Thomas, Professor King's assistant.
You seemed a little anxious not to be seen.
Well, I saw two strangers standing over a corpse. Not being the hero type, I decided this was no place for me.
Yeah, this movie,
Diving, Mr. Thomas?
this movie seems a lot better, like, in terms of its general production.
Anything particularly interesting around here?
Like, the last movie gave the vibe of, like,
I want you to forget that you
the film crew shows up on Friday, starts filming, leaves on Sunday. But this feels like they're actually taking the time to set up their shots, prepare the lighting, and, like, it definitely feels like it's a more like proper release, which is why I want to go check that it is public domain again. This seems like it has some wonky ADR. Yeah, can't be perfect.
You're soaking wet.
I am. I saw a wonderful marine specimen. I went in after it.
With the college on vacation, you're spending more time there than ever. I hardly see you anymore. I've never seen you this detached from me, from reality.
I'm working on breathtaking things, Lois. Great things.
And you still won't tell me what it is.
Not yet.
You've got your own staff consumed with curiosity. Even your secretary has asked me if I know what it is you're doing behind that tightly locked lab of yours.
Yeah, okay, this is public domain. This is just really competently made for a, like, shitty 50s, public domain movie.
I feel the deep resentment because you cut him off from your work so.
He's an opportunist, not a scientist. I don't trust
Like,
him.
the people making this, like,
Spying on me.
not, you know, no hate to Mr. Corman, I think he's a great director,
I've been in bed.
and, like, a great producer, but, like, this is going for something completely different.
Oh, won't you come in?
Thank you. Is Professor King here?
I'm sorry, he's asleep. He went to bed an hour ago.
Oh, I see. Are you sure the professor's asleep? Tell him that Ted Baxter's here. It's urgent.
Well, what do you want him for?
Please tell me.
Dad.
I like this shot with like the wall taking up so much space. It's interesting. Like, I didn't like watch these movies beforehand, so I couldn't have planned this, but I do think like putting these two back to back, is gonna make for an interesting, like, well, here are two movies of a similar genre with very different, like, care and attention put into them. And I wonder to what degree the fact that this came out in 1955 matters. Did it come out before Godzilla? I'm gonna check that. Because if it didn't, that would explain a lot. Okay, so Godzilla came out October 1954. This came out December 1955. Yeah, Godzilla was 54. So I think it's like 100%, it could be before it came to America, and it could still be like influenced in part by it. Or at least similar movies.
My friend the beachcomber.
The fact that it like has a suit-based monster as opposed to something animatronic or puppeted, is interesting.
You work fast, don't you? Oh, I've learned quite a lot about you, Doctor. You'd be surprised how well Washington knows you. Care to hear how famous you are? Dr. Stevens, oceanographer, one of the leaders in this field, author of 2 highly controversial books. Biological effects of radiation.
Where would they have heard of about Godzilla's American filmmakers? I guess that's fair.
You have been
I guess I just like assume that at least like film industry would be more up on something like big as big as Godzilla was.
The first workable death ray. Suppose you tell me what you're doing with that Geiger counter. Well, I told you I thought the boat showed radiation burns. I wanted to verify it. I did. Scientific curiosity, you might say. And using the phony name? What's that for? That's for reasons of...
So looking on Wikipedia,
Yesterday, the way you looked out there as if you expected something like
the American version was released 4 months after this. I think that's enough time that like at least like
what happened out there seems
if you had your ear to the ground, you would know what was going on.
The evidence, if you could call it that, was highly circumstantial. Washington tell you anything else about me? Enough to make me keep my eyes on you. You know, if you leave me alone, I might be able to help you with this. And then again, maybe not.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, like, I could just be making leaps, I guess it's just like, with what I know of, like, 50s horror, I don't think suit-based stuff of this nature was particularly, like, popular.
Morning, Miss Ethel.
Morning, Ed.
They found Willie Harrison's boat this morning, burned like the others. They ain't found his body. That makes 3 of the Phantoms gone. You know what they're saying in town? That nothing like this ever happened until they opened the school here. I can't say that I blame them. The way the professor's been acting, locking himself up in his room. He won't even let me in there to clean it. And all those noises coming from that room.
I've got work to do, Andy.
I appreciate this janitor just, like, giving out the necessary exposition.
And that young one, George.
What about George?
He's following the professor around.
He's just like,
Everywhere. I see him. Hiding behind trees.
are you listening, audience? This is everything you need to know.
It ain't normal, this carrying on.
What's not normal, Andy?
That female actress seems familiar. Is it because all old white women look the same? Or...
I'm not to be disturbed, understand?
Yes, sir.
What have you got there, Ethel?
Nothing, just a piece of scrap.
GF increase point 56 dash 24. Point 64. Point 70 dash 18.
Keeping right up with the professor, aren't you, George?
I'm one step ahead of him. I've got to get into his lab, Ethel. You've got to help me get in there.
One thing I really find interesting about this film is, like, the,
I could tell him
spy movie, monster movie fusion going on here.
You could,
Like, the government is heavily involved, but not in a, like,
but you won't.
sending the army in kind of way. This is oddly reminding you of movie Night Unto Night with Ronald Reagan as a scientist who goes to the beach for some reason. I haven't seen a single movie that Ronald Reagan has been in, and I think my life is better for that. I don't think I am missing anything. Oh hey, more underwater filming. No real connection beyond broad similarities, fair. Yeah, no reason to support films made by literal war criminals. Fuck Ronald Reagan! Dude, one of the worst people to ever live. But, This soundtrack is lit. I suspect it's just like actual just sound effects, but this is a lit soundtrack. This is a banger. God, those eyes. The fucking eyes on the suit are incredible. The director of the Reagan movie also did original body of or Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Interesting. I haven't seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But, I don't know. I guess, like, from what I know, it's like, a take on... I know it's like a take on 50s politics. I can't remember which side of, like, McCarthyism versus communism it took. Because I haven't seen it. Also, it's like, I am, like, ragging on the eyes, but that is, like, a sick costume. That's a sick suit. Kudos to whoever did the production designs on this. Like, they did a good job. It's pro-McCarthyism. That, well, makes sense that he would want to work with Ronald Reagan. I just feel like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers template has been used a bunch, so it's kind of like the difference between like how I have seen it used elsewhere and how it was originally used might be different. But I can see why that would lend to like there's secret communists among us.
Hi.
Dirty Harry.
Hi there.
Dirty Harry is one of those like
Tell me,
cultural things that I just
how did
don't
you
know
leave
anything
your
about.
house? Through the door or through the open window like your father did last night?
Through the door. I leave the window exits to Dad. Join me in a swim?
No, I'm a little winded. How about you joining me in a rest? Maybe I can pick up some...
Fuck, I forgot to put out a tweet that we were on the second
Care for a
movie.
cigarette?
I'm gonna go do that.
Is something the matter?
No.
You seem a little nervous, Mr. Baxter.
Why don't you call me Ted? Mr. Baxter sounds so formal, especially here at the beach.
All right, Ted. It's too nice just to sit around. If you're not coming in for a swim, then I think I'll go in alone.
Now look, you can't go swimming.
I don't like being told what to do.
Well, it's not a case of my telling you what to do, it's just that it isn't safe out there.
It's about a cop who's really violent and that makes him cool.
Look, I've
That
spent all my life
one?
in the water.
Yeah, that seems fascist. Two, that doesn't seem anything special.
Can't in this one.
That
I'm
seems
going to
like
insist that you stay out
that
of
seems
the
like a
water.
genre of film and like really media.
You really mean that, don't you?
I really do. Let's just say that I'd feel better knowing that you were safe here on the beach. For personal reasons.
You ought to do that more often.
Do what?
Smile. I like it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a lot of movies.
all I need is a bit of encouragement. And you've given that to me.
Anyway, now I have the movie up. Also, fuck, I need to like remember to or like change how my words YouTube Studio emotes work because I keep accidentally turning them on.
down to the supply room and get some ocean current charts?
Professor King, I wonder if I might have a few words with you alone.
Ethel, I believe you were on your way down to the supply room.
I called on you at your home last night, but you'd gone out for a walk through an open window.
Yes, my daughter Lois told me that a Mr. Baxter had called. I got a terrible scolding on your account. I'm afraid you ruined my favorite device for getting out of the house when I can't sleep.
Professor, I saw a fisherman's body washed up on the shore last night.
These men get very careless. They think they rule the sea, but it's just the opposite. The sea rules us, Mr. Baxter.
This man wasn't killed by a natural force. His body was rigid with radiation burns. I think whatever killed him was man-made.
Indeed. Very interesting.
So going back to Godzilla,
Although not within my scope as an oceanographer.
I will concede that this probably wasn't influenced by Godzilla, but I do think, like...
Well, I'd like a detailed study of the ocean in this vicinity.
It's interesting that,
Position of the floor.
this is a movie about, like, radiation and, like, the dangers of nuclear.
I told my daughter I wouldn't
Because,
work this afternoon. Why don't you come
we talked about this last week, like, that's just less of a thing in American consciousness.
Right in. The house is generally unlocked.
That'll be fine.
And by the way, I take it you are working with Mr. Grant,
And I think,
special
like,
investigator.
You might say so.
The difference between nuclear and, like, American culture versus Japanese culture is already showing itself, and that, like,
You can come in now, miss.
this is a scientist at fault for this,
I hope you found the conversation interesting.
as opposed to Americans. Yeah, Americans were still afraid of nuclear weaponry,
You're an inquisitive.
but I guess, like, there's a difference between the power of radiation and the threat of nuclear annihilation, and this is going for the former. It is about, you know, radiation mutates. That's how Godzilla becomes Godzilla, and that's what, at least seemingly, is causing this monster here. Biological effects of radiation on marine life. Yeah. It's much more, like... It's not about, you know, the threat of nuclear annihilation. It's about what nuclear does to our world. But it's also, like... Again, Godzilla took the approach of an incident happened and the fallout is what caused this. Whereas this movie's approach is a person, a singular human, is doing a thing, and that is having an effect. And that changes, like, a lot about this, and I think both approaches are valid, but I think the Japanese one just, like, makes more sense from a cultural perspective. This is, like, more in the, like, of, yeah, more Kafkaesque fear. It's not about, you know, the dangers that we can cause as a culture and the damage that we cause to others or that has been caused to us. It's about, I don't know, it's about ennui, what ennui said. I do think it's, like, something of a more selfish focus, at least in this instance, where in real life you're not going to get a single scientist causing major incidents that irradiate a bay, like doing that in secret. it is the Godzilla stuff is like both are sci-fi. Neither can happen, but like the Godzilla one is like
Well, at least you might
more
know.
rooted in reality. It's a reaction to things that happened.
Your father told me to open the door and come in.
He would. Would you mind handing me those things there?
Surely.
Thanks. Is Father expecting you?
Yes.
The strap on this dress is weird.
Would you mind?
It looks
helping
weird
with
to
the
me.
zipper?
Like,
Of course.
I don't know. I can't explain why that. I just dislike. I dislike
You're an awful
that
long time
strap.
with that.
Mission completed. Sorry to say.
Hello. I'm sorry I'm late.
Well, now that Dad's here, will you excuse me?
Oh, surely.
I hope these are what you wanted. Dr. Stevens. I've read your books very thoroughly, Doctor, on which, incidentally, your photograph appears.
Well, maybe it's just as well you know who I am. Have you charted the area around Baker's Cove?
The area where the accidents occurred? No, I don't think we got around to that. We've only been here 2 years, you know.
Well, you've mapped other areas in this vicinity. A few years ago, a submerged deposit of uranium ore was found along this coast. Is there any evidence of a similar deposit along here?
No, not to my knowledge. Why?
This morning I made a test dive over the area where the accidents have taken place. They weren't accidents. There's a shaft of light coming up out of the ocean. I have reason to believe that it's nuclear in character. Now, any object coming in contact with this light would be subject to extreme radiation. I believe this light killed 3 men.
Incredible. You say you made a close examination of this light?
Not as close as I would have liked to. It was being guarded by a sea serpent. A hideous beast that defies description.
Sea serpent?
If I didn't know that you were a scientist of high standards, I'd say that you were the victim of the ridiculous phantom stories that are running wild around the village.
I wouldn't call that thing a sea serpent because it has limbs.
You say you've read my
And
story.
the most important part of something being a sea serpent is it being a serpent.
Well, then you must remember my experiments on activating the hydrogen isotopes in heavy water.
Oh, but that was on a miniature scale in a laboratory with a lot of equipment. But on the ocean floor...
I proved it could be done. I used artificial means to start the reaction.
Then you think that with the submerged deposit of uranium ore, you can get the same reaction on a much larger scale?
A weapon like this could destroy anything coming in contact with it.
Oh, fantastic.
Once the chain reaction had started, it could continue indefinitely. As a matter of fact, keep growing larger.
And what about the beast down there? Was he man-made too?
I believe so. Since marine life lives in a constant flow of heavy water, the effect of radiation on it would be completely different than it is on humans.
That's your theory on mutations, isn't it, Doctor?
Yes. And if what I believe is true, this monster that I saw in the ocean was a mutation of some sea creature. You see, it draws its energy from the nuclear light itself, just as plant life needs the sun to grow on.
Well, have you any evidence to support this fantastic theory?
I created such a mutant in my own laboratory.
Oh, come now, Doctor.
I destroyed it. Just as this creature must be destroyed, and the knowledge that went into creating it.
You think that that knowledge might have come out of my college? Since I am head of that college, obviously.
Professor, in science we look for one thing and find...
I will say, like, this movie does have a lot of the same, like, beats, like, the same, structure as the last movie, in that, like, it starts with a monster doing a thing, and then like, is a bunch of, like, talking interspersed with occasional glimpses and hints at the monster. But I think this is a lot more engaging as a,
However, there's another element.
As a,
The person
as a structure, because I think the talking bits are more interesting than, like, some generic romance. Like, this is discussing, like, the power of radiation, things that man should not be meddling with.
We'll have them ready for you in the morning.
That's better than a dude playing Wonderwall for a girl because he wants to fuck her.
Grant's going to make a dive in the morning. He's borrowing some equipment from us. We can't let him go down there.
Why not?
Well, in view of what you told me, I thought, well, it's not safe for him to go down there.
Yeah, the acting is also, like, not...
You seem so skeptical when I told you the...
I'm not going to say the actors in the last movie were, like...
Yet you show genuine...
Bad? Outright bad? They were just not good. But the acting here is, like, these actors, like, can sell this. Like, these are... They are playing their roles well.
Ethel. Did I startle you? I'm sorry.
I didn't hear you come out.
I forgot to tell you, Mr. Grant wants to pick up a full set of diving equipment tomorrow. Have it ready for him.
Yes, sir.
And tell George and the night watchman, in case you're not here.
Yes.
It's just like, this is just, like,
Ethel,
a much better produced movie.
I consider you an intelligent woman. A bit bitter, perhaps. No great lover of mankind, but still intelligent. I'd like your opinion. What would you consider a just punishment for a man or woman who would betray his fellow man for money? One who would take a scientific discovery of monumental scope and use it to line his or her pockets.
I don't know.
Would you consider death just? Well?
That line delivery was good.
No matter. You can tell me some other time.
Fuck! I just remembered why that actress looks familiar. I don't think she is the same person, but she looks like the Murder, She Wrote woman. But despite the fact that I think that was like 30 years later. I need to go look this up again.
Hello. Get me Mr. Grant, please.
You shouldn't have come here. I may have been followed.
There was a time when you would have welcomed me under any circumstances.
You've got federal men investigating. You must know something. They're planning on making a dive tomorrow.
A dive? They've got to be stopped.
How?
That's your problem.
You shouldn't have come here.
I had to. I got a cable from Antwerp. I'm to fly there in 2 days. They're expecting me to bring some vital information from you.
I'm not ready.
You were ready enough to accept a considerable sum of money in advance, weren't you?
I won't know anything until I can get into King's lab.
Then get in. Butt your way in.
I tried that with his secretary. It didn't work.
You're facing some serious problems, George. You have 2 days in which to find the answers. I'll be leaving for Europe the day after tomorrow.
Not only was the actress not the person, like, that she reminded me of, which I assumed as much, but she died, like, years before I think that show aired.
I remember.
So I was really off the mark there.
Quite a while, we were just a man and a woman, weren't we? I didn't know then they could put beauty and poison so cleverly together in one package.
Colby's Point, remember.
I'm glad I chose this movie to watch second. Because I cannot imagine going from this to the other movie. Just like, such a step down in quality. Wow, this movie can even get, like, tension right. It can get suspense right. It can get the things the last movie didn't get right. Right.
Is it all right?
Go ahead.
I can tell you what you want to know.
All right.
Lovely.
Thank you. I hope my caller feels the same way about it.
I'm sure he will. Dr. Stevens is very observing. He's a bright young man. Sometimes I think he's too bright.
Too bright? I don't understand what you mean.
Oh, just an old coot thinking out loud. You know, science is a devouring mistress. She devours all who seek to fathom her mysteries. And for every secret she reveals, she demands a price. A price that a scientist must be prepared to pay. Even at the cost of his life. Or the life of others who stand in the way of his search.
Saying your movie's theme out loud is entirely valid when you can make it sound cool.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
Like, you don't need subtlety if you can make a lack of subtlety cool or interesting.
You're beautiful.
Which is a good opening line for any date.
Oh, I've got more. But they require an entirely different setting. How about a nice walk along the ocean?
He may fool the rest of you with his soft voice, but not me. He's a killer.
You can't.
Yeah, it's weird to announce the message less than halfway in.
I'll accuse him of anything. He sent my only son out in a squall to get his
That is, like, definitely a choice.
Proof.
I think
I need proof.
Either that's a sign that the rest of the movie is going to be horribly paced, or it's a sign that the rest of the movie is going to have a lot going on. And I hope it's the latter.
Something along those lines. If I could show you how to make a wax impression of those locks, could you do it sometime tomorrow?
I'm sure I could.
Come on.
Also, the fact that this movie is longer than the last movie, it does a lot for its pacing. this movie's pacing is a lot slower, and it has the ability to be a lot slower. Because you don't just need to get wrapped up in 60 minutes. You can have things like a theme, or pacing, or like establishing things. Where like the last movie, actually, like thinking about it, kind of, yeah, it has characters and a plot. The last movie felt like it was just like, okay, our movie is going to be an hour long. How do we fill that time? Let's just like, scenes will happen. We will make scenes happen. But yeah, this movie has like characters and a plot. Things are happening. People have motivation. Characters work off each other. Which like makes for a more enjoyable film. It also has some sick underwater filming. I am so happy that we are 3 for 3 on underwater filming. Like, I am weak to underwater filming, and especially the last movie. Like, I think that was its saving grace, is that it had really good underwater filming. But then this one is just like a good movie that has underwater filming on top of it, like what it's actually good at. Ooh. Stuff is happening! Monsters attacking again. This is a fun movie.
I'd better be getting home. It's late. It's been a lovely evening.
Yes, it was pleasant. And it did go fast.
Mostly in talk about my father and the college, now that I think of it. You've learned a great deal about him.
Natural curiosity about a fellow scientist. There were some very pleasant moments of silence, too.
We really should go.
All right.
The cinematographer of this movie was the cinematographer for Walk on the Dark Street. Hell yeah! That's a fun coincidence.
We'll find him at the hotel. Tell him I'll wait here for his instructions. Hurry, please.
But also, yeah, like, mentioning cinematography, this movie's cinematography is, like, good. Maybe not great, but it's like, it's doing its job. You get these nice shots, like, you can tell that, like, the people making this movie know what they're doing. Even if it's an indie film, it's like, you can still, get a lot from it. Or, like, even if it's, like, a cheap indie film, rather. Also, apparently this had, like, 3 times the budget of the last movie, which makes sense. The composer scrapped Attack of the Crab Monsters. Yeet. Small world. I guess if you're working in, like, the kind... This wasn't, like, a definite, like, kind of movie in the 50s and 60s. But it wasn't so much a kind of movie that, like, you wouldn't just end up attracting the same people. So I imagine there wasn't a ton of diversity. Also, you get film composers working on, like, a million projects. Just because it's, like... You making a film score is... I don't want to say it's, like, effortless, but, like... It's a very different kind of work than,
I think it's
other movies that it can go by faster.
This. We? Am I off your list of suspects? Earlier today, I had a long talk with Washington. You were the topic of conversation. Am I to be shot at sunrise?
The composer has 42 credits
They told
total.
me to cooperate with you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You could have floored
Cinematographer only
me on
9.
this case too and didn't even
Okay.
tell me about it. I thought they would eventually. Apparently, they were too completely indifferent to investigate.
Yeah, but it's like,
One from
even
a
being
scientific
prolific
point of
for
view
like
and one from
a decade or two
government
could
style.
get you like that many composer
Pacific
credits.
College of Oceanography. You know, this spear may be our first real break. Kind of narrows the field down, doesn't it? Yes, it seems so. I think I'll take it down to the crime lab and have them dust it for prints. How about you going down to the college and picking up some diving equipment? I checked with Professor King, and he said the night watchman would give it to us. Okay. What do you say we make our dive about 6 a.m.? Yeah. Bill, I made a test dive yesterday. It's pretty grim. There's a shaft of radioactive light down there. Touch it and you're dead. And if that isn't enough, there's some kind of an animal standing guard over it. Then there really is a basis for these phantom stories? I'm afraid there is. This'll take care of it. And I won't miss. Now, my principal interest is the light ray. Now, you will have to draw whatever it is down there away so I can get a good look at that light. And Bill.
Roland Stein,
Or pleasant.
I don't know if I've seen a lot that he's done.
Neither is this.
But, like, I recognize some of those names you're, mentioning. Yeah, on Letterboxd I only have one film of his that I've seen. But, like, looking through his discography, there are some, at least, fun names. It Conquered the World has a cool poster. Oh, She Gods of Shark Reef, that is on my list. We're gonna watch that someday. I almost included it in this.
Hey, Bill. What happened?
I can't remember why I didn't go with, She Gods of Shark Reef this week. But, like, I decided against it, but rest assured that is on my list.
Feel all right? Okay.
This is a nice track. the, like, squealing drone against the, like, softer guitar has a nice effect. I like this track. Sets a good mood. Also, this is some nice underwater filming. Yeah, you know, I think I just like the score of this movie. Like, aside from the fact that it was just brought up, like, the last couple tracks have just been, like, very good, very fitting. Work well with the movie.
I'm picking up King and his assistant.
What for?
The poison in that mask came from the college, and so did the spear that was fired at you.
So we can prove a charge of attempted murder. That's not what we're after. We want to know who created that thing and how to destroy it. Don't you understand, Bill? It's the knowledge, the know-how that went into making that ray. That's the real danger. It all ties together. We were getting too...
Yeah, the score stands out.
Maybe both of them.
I don't remember the Attack of the Giant Crabs score standing out too much, but this definitely, like, is leaving its impression. It does a lot of the things that, like, scores of the day did, but I think it's doing enough of its own unique things that, like, really set it apart, really make it, like, its own thing. Like the squeaking thing that I called attention to, like, that was cool. And it's just like,
One of the spear guns is missing.
It's just an interesting track.
That's odd. I thought I saw you carrying one when you left last night.
You see too much, Ethel. You should wear blinkers. Is he in yet?
No.
I've got to get in there today.
Break the door down.
He mustn't know, Ethel. This is important to me, as important as staying alive.
I can't help you.
This is serious. I'm in trouble. You like that, don't you?
There's too much trouble of my own to worry about yours.
Morning.
Good morning. guy told me that you and Mr. Grant made a dive.
Yes.
I'm glad I learned about it after it was all over.
I phoned the college. They told me your father was at home.
He was terribly upset when he heard the news. The boy, the one in the boat, he was one of his students.
Oh, that's a shame. I'd like to talk to your father.
And aside from like the way that this score stands out from scores of the day, I think it like
You wish to speak to me?
there is just something like
Yes,
nice
I thought
about
you
this
might be
aesthetic of
interested in the
film
results of
scores
the dive we made this morning.
that like
The very fact
doesn't
that you're here now tells me that
show up anymore.
your phantom,
that,
as well as your
like-
light ray, is a myth, a hoax.
It's a big part of like
Both
movies
exist.
feeling
The
like
light ray,
I
as
don't
you
know.
call it, is very definitely atomic.
The feeling I
Yeah.
get from these
The only
is
reason
like
I'm alive is
in large
because I
part
made
because
sure
of the
I
score.
didn't come in contact with it myself.
It's all too preposterous for serious thought. Phantom, marine mutations, death rays, utter nonsense. I'm
I
afraid,
also
Doctor,
think
that
the other thing, like one of the other things about
overwhelming imagination.
this is a slight tangent, but like what makes
Dr. Stevens.
films, older films, like have that aesthetic is the audio, sort of lo-fi, which feel like I like that, and the film Mank is a terrible film, which puts in a lot of effort to make itself feel like a very old film, except it doesn't use older
You
equipment
don't look well, George.
for
Or is it just that I don't find you attractive anymore?
for its like audio recording, which makes it feel really dissonant.
I can get what they want.
You have this old-timey score, this black and white presentation, but then it just sounds like any other movie.
Be a little extreme in showing it.
Also, Mank is historical revisionism based on a theory that was disputed or proven wrong over 50 years ago.
Last night.
Mank sucks.
The King's secretary was crying a little heart out to Mr. Grant. I saw them.
Government man?
I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I'm pretty sure I caught your name.
She knows enough about me to...
Evidently, she hasn't told him what she knows yet.
What do I do, Wanda?
I know what I'd do. I'll be here tomorrow, too. But don't come unless you have something for me.
I also like. I really am enjoying this film's like spy movie, like spy horror thriller fusion. It feels like distinct.
Very late tonight, aren't you, Ethel?
I had some work to clean up. Good night.
Ethel, I believe you were looking for these.
liked her character. That's unfortunate.
Dad, what's wrong?
Oh, I feel so old, so tired, defeated. Dr. Stevens, I want to apologize to you for my rudeness this afternoon. I've had a few very trying days.
Of course, I understand. Maybe I better leave.
Come in.
Professor King?
That's right.
Were you at the college tonight?
Yes, for a while.
Mind telling me when you left?
About an hour ago, I think. What's this all about?
Guess it's later you followed. That it?
I don't grasp the significance of that fact. Do you think that I would take a human life? Willfully, deliberately?
She just as well as told me you were going to kill her. She was killed with one of the college's spear guns.
Am I being formally charged with this horrible thing?
Not yet. It's just a matter of time. Come on.
This movie, but it stands up a lot without its monster.
No, it's just like I killed
Like, the monster is a side element. It's extant.
laboratory.
But it's not even the main plot.
That's what we ought to do. Get into that room of his. Well, assuming that it was King, which is something I'm not ready to do. He could have destroyed everything in his laboratory if he found Ethel in there. His equipment, his notes. Don't you see, Bill? It's what's in his mind or George's that's important.
Just like,
Wait a minute.
this has a whole lot going on besides the monster. Which you don't need in a monster film.
Mean anything to you?
I wouldn't say like Godzilla is doing things outside of its monster. It's just doing a lot with its monster.
Same spear gun fired both shafts. The one that tried to kill Doc here and the one that got Miss Hall. Same fingerprints over both of them. They were George Thomas's, King's assistant. That's the dumbest killer you ever saw. Left the spear gun in his car. Prints all over it. And to clinch it, he didn't come home last night. I guess I'd better put in for retirement. I sure had this one figured wrong. I called the college to tell the old man he was in the clear, but no one answered. He's probably at home. I think I better go tell him. Tell the old man I'm sorry. I kind of have an idea where we can get George. Want to come along? Might be able to use some help. Come on.
Ooh, this is a very nice shot. This is a very nice shot. Like,
I've forgotten how pleasant it could be.
Just like looking down at a spot we have seen a lot before.
We'll do it again.
It's doing a lot.
I doubt whether the trap would permit it.
The trap?
Knowledge sometimes has steel jaws, like a trap, and it can either destroy the hunter or the hunted.
You frighten me when you talk like that.
And I promise not to. Oh, here comes your Dr. Stevens.
I have some news that I think will interest you.
About Ethel's murder?
The sheriff has proof it was George.
I knew it wasn't you.
Why would he want her dead?
It's possible that Ethel found out that, well, he had to silence her.
Why the gloom? Dad's just been acquitted of murder.
Lois.
I think
I'd like to
there's a
talk
reason to be gloomy when two people are still dead.
It'll only take a few minutes, dear. You better run on home. I'll follow you there. You'd better go, please.
Ethel gave this to Mr. Grant. She said she copied it from your notes. Intensity increase readings of the light shaft. You called it HEF.
Hydro Energy Force. You're quite right. There is a uranium deposit on the ocean floor.
How did you activate it?
That, Dr. Stevens, is my knowledge and mine alone.
But it must be destroyed.
It started with a simple animal experiment. One of yours, Doctor.
I thought so.
And I advanced it way beyond the scope of your imagination. Didn't I?
Don't tell me how you created it. Tell me how to destroy it.
I don't know that I want to.
But, Doctor, you're not free to do as you wish. 5 people have died as a result of that thing.
You're quite right. But just give me 1 hour to think about it. It's a decision that's not easy to make.
I have no other choice.
Thank you. I'll meet you here. And Doctor, stay with Lois. She'll need you.
Where was this movie filmed? I'm just suddenly curious about that.
I know Dad's in some kind of trouble and needs me. I know it.
But your father asked you to wait here.
I can't. We've got to find him. Do you know where he might be?
Well, he possibly could have gone to the lab.
Well, then I'm going there.
Now, wait a minute.
Do I have to go alone, or are you coming with me?
Perhaps you're right. Can't do any good here just waiting. Let's go.
Okay, apparently this was filmed in Malibu. That's neat. Not familiar with that area. Whoa. That's some nice effects. Just like the sinking ship here. That's a nice effect.
Ted, what happened? That ship had just exploded.
Lois, I've got to find your father.
You can't mean that Dad had anything to do with this.
I haven't got time to talk.
Ted?
Professor King. Professor King. Mr. King.
You may come in and clean up now and then.
That's a funny line. Just.
What in the world is that?
Whoa. That's a sharkadile? Or not?
God's creatures, Professor?
No.
Turtodile, I guess.
Follies, and I pray
God, there'll never be another one. Goodbye, Andy.
On your feet.
You'd show up here sooner or later. What do you want to be?
Just a confession to Ethel Hall's murder.
We found a spear gun in your car. Ballistic test and fingerprints pretty well tie you into it, mister. You weren't very clever about it.
Neither was your girlfriend, Wanda.
No, I guess I wasn't. I should have learned more of my teacher. He killed in wholesale lots.
What are you talking about?
Professor King, he planted that thing out in the ocean. What's he mean, Bill?
I think I know. Can you handle him yourself, Sheriff?
What happened? Where's Dad?
He left a few minutes ago, Miss King.
Did he say where he was going?
No, he just busted up the place and left in a hurry.
Why destroy all this? Experiments is life's work.
I'm afraid only your father can explain that.
But I still don't understand. Do you know why he did this?
I think I do. What a mess. King? Yeah, I left a few minutes ago. Probably headed for the beach. We're on our way there now. Let's take my car. Come on, we can hurry.
I'm very excited. Gonna take that one again. I'm very excited to see how this movie comes together in the end, because it's the way it's like building up to this ending. It's like I can see where it's going, but it's kind of like watching it come together is a different thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that explosives like that don't work underwater. Like, or maybe he's trying to blow up the boat. Yeah, I don't know much about explosives either. It's just like when I think of explosives, at least in like with dynamite, it's like there's flame that lights it and sets it off. But does that work when it's underwater? I don't know. Maybe it does. And, now he dies by monster. It's hugging him. Whoa! Okay, that was cool. That was really cool.
If I'd only known in time, perhaps I could have stopped him. I know he meant this power to be used to
Yeah, same. I want to, like,
destroy it.
the monster looks really cool.
He paid for his mistake. Nature has many secrets that man must
I want to,
understand.
like, find out who they are and watch everything else that they worked on.
I know.
Unfortunately, Letterboxd doesn't have a,
Only you two could have
a,
understood.
like, production designer for this film.
I'm sure he does, Lois. That's why he took his secret with him.
Neither does, the movie database. That was a good movie. Oh, hey, Artemis is live. Okay, well, fuck. Thanks for coming. This was a lot of fun. The movies were of mixed quality, but I still really like this. Yeah, thanks for coming by. Wait, fuck.